Hold on. All right, what is this about? How would you title?
Title. Well, be still and knowing God, but we're gonna dig a little deeper into what that means. You know, um, be still by knowing God. There you go.
All right, man. I got my
Alright.
notes ready.
Yeah, man. So this is something that God's been putting on my heart and leading me to. And I kid you not, like real time, yesterday and this morning, I had to put out some fires, work stuff. And my team had some blaring issues on my client's website that
Mm.
we just had to resolve. And I did not sleep well, and found more issues this morning. And so, and the crazy thing is like what I knew I was gonna speak on in our Bible study, and what God's been teaching me. And I was praying about it, and I was like, yeah, this is a test. It says, be rejoice with the trials and tests that you go through, the perseverance, because your faith, when tested, produces endurance. Endurance produces character. Character, hope. And so it's just the uncanny timing of, and literally just before this, man, like having to deal with this stuff. And I never had any really major issues with like work with clients. And honestly, mistakes happen and things will happen. I know that's part of the process, sometimes, and growing pains. And hopefully, we put things into place to not let that happen again. But anyway, so the scripture is going to be Psalms 46. And but we're gonna kind of read this a little differently. We're actually gonna read it from the bottom up,
Whoa.
uh, to some extent. Here, I'll explain it. Yeah. So we'll first anchor it on, and we know this verse, right? And about be still and know that I'm God. But I wanted to dig a little deeper and to understand, what does that mean? What does being still mean? Like, God, what is the original Hebrew, definition of this? Like, digging into more of this, because I don't know about you, but for me, when I hear this, and that song, still, which is one of my favorite, like, be still, know that I'm God. I always thought, oh, okay, I gotta just be silent, close my eyes, meditate. But I realized when I looked at the actual definition of be still, it really didn't have anything to do with that.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I mean, that could be part of it, maybe, but be still in the actual Hebrew context, it meant to basically release, to relinquish control, to yeah, basically to let go, let go. And um, and I think that for me, it really gave it a lot more meaning, a lot more context. Um, and as I was literally praying, I think praying today, about this verse and what I was struggling with, not sleeping at night because of this issues with clients and my team. I was so anxious, and I don't know if you know the attachment styles. There's secure attachment,
Attachment.
anxious attachment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have the anxious attachment. I'm just an anxious person, that, and just by default nature. And so as I was praying through it, and this verse and about what it means to be still, about letting go of relinquishing control, of trusting, and that my anxious attachment's really tied to wanting to control others, you know and I want to control what they think of me, or think how they respond, when they respond. And I wanted to be basically, God, right? I wanted to be in ultimate control. I want to be sure that my future is exactly what I expected it to be. And I'm trying everything I can think of to control every situation, every person, right? But as a result of me not knowing that I'm trying to be God, then I start to spiral, right? Emotionally, mentally, and you feel the weight of the world crashing on you because you were never meant to carry that weight that only God was created for. And so God created, and it's meant for God. And so it gives new meaning to this, right? Because when you understand, then stillness being to let go, to trust, to just release, it's like release, let go, know that I am alone. I am alone, God. Because in a way, it's like, be still. Don't try to be God. I I know that I am the knowledge of knowing, not just the knowledge of knowing, but knowing in who He is, His character, and knowing Him, like you said in our prayers, that relationship. I am alone, God. So, anyways, with that context, I think it's going to really change how we read the scriptures from the beginning, because with that frame of knowing, I can release, I can let go of control, because I know that you're God. It's going to change everything. At least for me, it did, of how I read the verses that preceded that. So with that, there's only like, 10 verses, so maybe we'll do 5 each. And you want to do the first 5, and then I'll do the last.
But you want me to start from 1, right?
Let's just start from 1. Yeah, it was just more. We started with actually that verse, and then we go back up to give more context to that knowing God, and how we could be still. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear through the earth, though the earth gives way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God will help her when morning dawns.
The nations are in chaos and their kingdoms crumble. God's voice thunders and the earth melts. The Lord of heaven's armies is here among us. The God of Israel is our fortress. Come see glorious works of the Lord. See how he brings destruction upon the world. He causes wars to end throughout the earth. He breaks the bow and snaps the spear. He burns the shield with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be honored among the nations. I will be honored throughout the world. The Lord of heaven's armies is here among us. The God of Israel is our fortress. Yeah, so we kind of sit there, you gotta soak it in, but it tells you everything, knowing, because of refuge, strength, presence, help in trouble, not fearing these things of natural disasters or society or stock markets or whatever. And just, I mean, it may be time to have to reread it, just to really grasp all that. But I think that's where it's like, oh, you're my safe place. You're my strength, and I've been trying to create my own shelter. I've been trying to show, like, you know what, this is going to keep me safe. This many clients, this much revenue, this type of marriage, or this type of relationships, will protect me. Will keep me safe. Will keep me, feeling good about life, about myself. But he's like, no, you got to release all of it. And know from this, it's like, learn about who I am, my character, trust in that character and who I am. And so, sometimes you might have to take a few times to reread it, and extract some of that of God's character. And I think that's where he's telling us, like, you can, because of these things, you can trust me. So yeah, man. So that's kind of the word this guy's speaking to me, and literally right before this, putting out fires, and yeah, man. So yeah, man. So I don't know if you have any thoughts and anything stands out to you, but
Yeah, I think this is a really great message for a lot of people right now because I think financially, economically, it's been really tough for a lot of people. I
yeah.
know of many people have been laid off from their jobs, and it's just happening more and more, and they're unable to get another job. Just obviously because the job market is so bad. There's a bunch of people vying for the same job, and even my business has been so slow. Like we haven't really been closing transactions in the last probably 3 months, um, and it's discouraging. I have bills, and fortunately, I have savings and investments, but it's just discouraging to be in a place, and I just feel like a lot of people are in a place where it's just like, man, where is the safety and security? I also think that kind of like you're fasting, that sometimes you have to rid yourself of these securities because we were never meant to have these securities from the beginning. You know what I mean? Like so many of us have security from money. Because Stuart, if you had $1 million in your account right now, would it be a different circumstance right now? Would you feel better? Would you feel more secure? Would you just have a better day in general?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, superficially in a way, but yeah, you would feel like, oh, I'm okay. I'm at peace, quote unquote peace, which is not real peace, right? So
Yeah, you could afford a few mistakes, right?
yeah.
Um, I think this is the problem with having money, though. Um, and I'm just talking about money because it's like I feel like it's the most pertinent and the easiest to deal with because obviously marriage can also be a different thing, relationships, um, so many things. But I think the easiest one is money, where people they really want to get security in their money.
Mm,
And this is where, even with Dave Ramsey stuff of emergency funds and whatnot, it's like I think one of the problem. It's not like I disagree with it, but when money becomes your security, that becomes an issue. When
mm,
food becomes your comfort and just something that you're just like, I need to do, well, even though we do need to eat, it's like our comfort and our satisfaction and our security needs to come from God and God alone. And I think this is where it's maybe getting fired of what is not a bad job or not a bad thing. Maybe ridding myself of a lot of my cash right now in my bank account is not a bad thing, because I was certainly worried. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm running out of cash. I also did a remodel, right? And so like I spent a lot of money, and it's humbling in the sense because for me it's like I don't go out. We have to be conservative now until my business starts picking back up.
mm,
I'm in real estate, obviously, so it's like it's a very well known thing that realtors are struggling all across the board right now. Even the top of the top agents right now are struggling
mm,
right
mm,
now. And I just feel like sometimes I wish, and this is really bad, but I wish we had a catastrophic event in America, because I feel like we need to reset spiritually. When we're in opulence and when we have so much, we forget about God. Dude, look what's happening to the church right now. Dude, I'm an elder at
mm,
my church. I know what's going on in not only our church, but the churches of all these churches in Seattle.
mm,
My pastor is a part of a network. Dude, they are closing doors. Churches are fusing together because they're losing count of people. Um, they're losing members. The youth is not coming to Christ. Why? We've been opulence. See, again, you said earlier that God shouts in our pains, right? That was you, right?
I think it was you, but oh yeah, go ahead.
I thought it was you.
I think no.
But
Yeah, but yeah.
anyway, oh no, maybe that was my pastor. God shouts at our pains, whispers when times are good, and I feel like it's just so hard to need God when things are good, and it has happened all throughout the Bible, right?
Hmm.
You just see this pattern, and I think we're in a place where it's just been so good, but then things are, I mean, honestly, we're still in America. We think things are tough, but things are really tough. You want to see
Hmm.
tough? Talk about the kid in North Korea who is watching their parents die because he's being fed, the little food that they have, and their parents are literally dying in front of them, you know, because that's all like they don't have any food. Or what
Yeah.
about, the adult who's breastfeeding because that's like the only food that they can get, from his
Mm-hmm.
wife.
Mm.
Okay. So the kid and the adult, the husband are sharing the breast milk. I mean, that's real tough. So it's all perspective, but I think the point just like, I think for me, it's like, man, this is a good purging moment. I feel like for a lot of people because we were never meant to have this much security. And
Mm.
really, I think this is a good training ground because I do believe, Stuart, like I'm such a huge believer that if you seek God first, that if you truly relinquish control, um, even this problem that you have right now, I truly believe that God will take care of that problem. Somehow, it'll just work out. Not to say you're going to sit on your butt and just do nothing, but it's like, dude, I believe God's going to work this out. I believe God's going to work on your business and grow it. Um, But then the step number one is like to actually give it to God. Because you're
Yeah.
still like, I still want a little bit. No, 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 but it's like
Mm.
if you just gave it to God every single day and learning that skill, um, for both of us, because I'm trying to learn
Mm.
that too. Because I feel like I've started getting controlling, you know.
Mm.
I think if both of us learn that skill, that's when God's magic can happen.
Mm. Yeah, man. No, I think it is timely, and so many, like you said, so many people with these layoffs with AI, like people people I know, and just society as a whole. And it's like, corporate life was seen as this, oh, that's what you do to be secure, safe, consistent, right? Stability. No, I mean, never. It was a facade to begin with, right? But I mean, you could get fired the next day, anyways, regardless of AI or whatnot. But and I think it is a shaking of, like it had to shake me. I think of like sometimes you have to, like a muscle, right? It has to be tear down before it can build back up stronger. And in a ways, like I mentioned earlier, right? It's like the tearing down of my marriage, the tearing down of corporate life. But I remember when I was hiking, and this is after I, was divorced now a year, and left corporate, and it was an analogy of me, and I was sitting near on the rock, just looking out, and there's a path, right? And God was speaking to me about, you know, only look forward, and when you look forward, look to me, look at me, and don't look back. That's the old Stuart, living for the world, you know, and yeah, there's two main pillars that I think, not just me, but a lot of humans, but it's also, I think, also in Genesis, that humans put their pillars of their security and safety and value in what they do for work. That's what Adam got first. Like, it was a blessing, and then also the spouse, right? Who you marry and whatnot. And those two things I chose. It's like those things were crumbling, but I had no choice. I was like, yeah. But anyway, so you said sometimes it is the blessing, the tearing down to build stronger. And so, um, I think the main thing is I realized that God's been teaching me that it's not who I am, but whose I am. and who he is, you know. Like that's what basically what it's saying, right? It's like, and I was just saying I think I'm saying Rafa, or Raphah. That's the actual meaning of stillness here. It does not mean meditate, relax, feel peaceful, or sit quietly. It means let go, release, drop what you're holding, stop striving, cease resisting, lower your hands, and stand down. And so it's like,
Mm.
right? And for me, I think it's it is that, it's be still, know that it's not about who I am, but it's like, oh, who you are. And I think that's the hardest thing. I think, and last I'll say, but the greatest the command that Jesus gave, love one another as I've loved you. And so there's two parts of the command. He's One part of the command is that you would know the love of Christ and you would receive the love of Christ. And the other is to love others. Now, I think a lot of ways it's actually easier to love people than it is to receive love, because in some ways you love other people, you have somewhat control in that situation. You can give a some money to somebody or someone in need, but to receive love. And I was actually talking to my mom on our road trip here and how she struggled with this, of feeling like she doesn't hear from God. She doesn't feel like, I want that, but she's never opened herself to surrender, like this says, to surrender, to know who He is, and that to receive that love, because that actually is surrender. To be loved by God is, it's out of our control, and it's so much easier even to love people sometimes is in control. So I think that's, I don't know for you, but at least what I hear and what from me personally and my mom and a lot of people, the greatest part of the command that is actually the hardest one, and the only, it prefaces all other commands, is the love of God, because we cannot, there's it flows from within us, from Him. And I think it starts in that surrender, of being loved by Him. And I think that is, by human nature, the hardest command to obey, to receive, and to obey, because it's like, I'm a child, like it says, Jesus said, you cannot enter the kingdom of God if you're not a little child. I was like, dang, that's pretty. It's not saying you might be, you may be. He said, no, you will not enter my kingdom if you do not become like a little child. And I think as adults, I'll be honest, how many times have we talked about that as adults? We bash by it, right? But when I was like, oh, hey, that's pretty serious. I should, what does that mean, And it's like, yeah, like as adults, we got bills to pay, we've got mortgage, we got family, we've got kids, we got this investment over here, we got over this, and we got the retirement accounts, and we got a family, we got our parents are aging, we got it, and Jesus saying, you will not enter the kingdom if you're not a little child. And what is a child? They depend fully on their parents for security, for sustenance, for safety, protection, provision. They're like, and whatever the parents say, they're like, okay. They take it face value in a lot of ways. And so I think that's what God's calling to be as a child. We, in the Old Testament, in that time, also children had no value. They had no cachet. There was nothing significant about children, and so it's also relinquishing any titles that we may have thought we had, you know. And it's like, wow, it's like stripping that down to be a child is like, that's the only way. Jesus is literally saying. But anyways, so um, yeah, man, timely.
I think one of the things I really want to do in my life is, this is going to be my theme this year, is to like purify my heart. And my one of those things is one of my sins, I would say my greatest, I feel, prominent sins is pride. And I want to reduce my pride. Sometimes you grow up, I mean, I look at my child and it's just like, he knows he can't do certain things. He knows this and that. I mean, it's just like a very humble place to be, but when I look at myself, I am, to God's eyes, like my child. And yet, because I can now buy nicer clothes, because I have my own car, because I have my own, house, and I could walk and I could do what do my will. I could do my own thing. Sometimes you forget, you think like you just get prideful, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy to get there. But to God, like someone who owns everything and who has, think about God's timeline of how long he's been in existence, okay? We'll put a numeric number, okay? 100 trillion years. Okay, that's not even a number we can really fathom. But he is 100 trillion years old, okay? And then we are, you know, 40s or whatever, right? We're children. We're not even just children. If you were to look at an infant, it's like we're like this in the mother's womb. We're a ballpoint. We are a ballpoint pen in the mother's. That's how young we are to God, and
Yeah.
but we masquerade like we actually know something. And I believe that's where, at least that's what I'm trying to humble myself. It's especially because money is so deceptive, man.
Yeah.
Money can screw you up. Not everybody should have money. In fact, very few should have money
Mm-hmm.
because the the vulnerability to pride and pride, equaling the fall. Because honestly, you could easily go to hell with money. It's easy to go to hell because you believe you don't need God anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I could tell you it's tough. And I told I have a private video on my YouTube right now that talked about how you cannot forget God. This is when I had nothing. This is when I had very little. And I just moved into my first apartment and I was like just barely making it. And I honestly, I didn't ever want to and that's why in 2017 I tried to give all my money because I wanted to absolve myself of all this pride because I know what it does to me. Many years later, I have like a family and establishment and all these. Now I have all these things, and I'm like, man, I really like my computer. I really like my car. I really like these things. Now I'm starting to kind of, oh, I don't want to I don't. And
Mm-hmm.
this is the problem, man. Better. It is better for God. If my mind is not right, it's better for God to take everything away. Everything away. Everything. Even our 401ks, man. What is that? Who made that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I need my 401k so I can be good to spend the last X amount of days with insecurity. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
Financial security. If I'm 65, I have financial security. Well, hey, man, like, since when do we have financial security apart from God? Since when did 401ks become a thing? Or when did
Wow. Yeah.
IRAs become a thing?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have that in the Bible times. They didn't have,
Mm-hmm.
no, they relied on people. They relied on their kids. They relied on, people to take it, the village to take care of them. You know what I mean? To take care of the old. And it's a humbling position. But we don't want to be in that position because we have pride and we don't want to we don't want to have to rely on anybody. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so dude, humility is a huge thing. I think that's something that man, I hope God doesn't take everything away from me. I hope not. But I know in my heart that if that's what it takes for me to get right with the Lord, then that's what it should be.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's scary to think like that, man.
Mm. Oof. Job. Yeah.
But how good? I mean, Job is kind of a rough one because he was
Yeah.
actually, yeah, his heart was right. But
I guess what you mean.
and the thing about Job, like God gave, boom, he like changed his life around, like boom, right after.
Yeah.
God has that kind of power. I've seen God do that to my life, man. But I empty myself of my soul, dude. Like Dude, back in the MC days, man, like I emptied myself. I don't know if you guys knew, but I was like, I was humble in the sense that like I knew I was nothing, and I felt like I was nothing. I felt
Mhm.
like I was nothing. I had no value. But then it's like in that beautiful, vulnerable, and humble state is when God started building me up. And I try to maintain that humble state, and I'm like, no. In the 2015, it's like, oh, I'm like on fire. 2016, the 2017, I made I made a $500,000 month. That's how much I made, and that screwed me up, dude.
Mm.
That month, I was like, what? I have all this, like, what the, like, first, I already had money, but it's like, whoa, I'm not used to this kind of money. I'm starting to worry, dude. I'm worrying more than I couldn't sleep that night because I'm thinking
Uh,
about taxes, bro.
oh,
I made a $500,000 and I'm
yeah.
worried about taxes.
Yeah.
I'm worried about
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
this money. Isn't that
Mm,
crazy?
yeah. It's like you have it now. It's like you're worrying more. Actually, you're more anxious, more fearful, even though you have more. That's
And
the
that's
thing.
why that very year I was going to give it all away. Everything.
Mm,
Everything in my bank account, all my assets. I had a lot of assets. And it's just like, and it might sound crazy to someone, but it's not. In fact, it wouldn't have been a bad idea. The only reason why I didn't is because of my pastor. But dude, we're in a spiritual world, man. We can't forget it. We can't forget it, man. Like this, I know circumstances may, but it's like, dude, that's not the metric to success. The metric to success is how thin the veil between us and Jesus is, you know?
mm,
Like the metric is our relationship with God, right?
mhm,
Anything otherwise, like if money, relationships, all this stuff is vanity, man. It's not vanity. It's not like total vanity, but it's a relation, especially relationships. But it's like, dude, these are not things that truly matter. It's our relationship with Jesus, man. Because God can change our circumstances. Boom, like this, dude. He can get you a
mm,
crazy high paying job, but it's like, can you even have $1 million in your account right now without getting prideful, without getting security through it, without
mm.
being anxious about money, without, dude, more money, more problems, man. It really is.
More money, more problems. Biggie, dude. Yeah, I think it's funny, man. I think and it's like acknowledging God, His intimate work in our lives, because like I was literally I didn't sleep. Not so much the issue of the client, that was a big one. I was thinking about my money the whole time. I was thinking about my savings starting to deplete, and I'm gonna have to pull from other sources, and yeah, I was money became my god, my security, and I was like, oh, I don't have that. I don't have anything. Um, so it's just timely. I feel like you said, like in God's kingdom is greater than this kingdom. It's unlimited. It's not even a financial thing, ready, but it's like His presence. And um, I think I was just on that still. I think last on the be still and know I'm God. I realized I always want to research it real quick in ChatGPT on the root of Hebrew of the word no, uh, on this, and I think this also brings more light. So the word no is yada, and when I don't know, I guess when I read this the first part that I misconstrued it, then the not the real, right? The still is not meditate, but actually the release, and or we're talking about letting go of control, pride, whatever. But the also the know that I am God, I always saw as know that I'm God. You're great, but it was almost like a separate thing. Like you're God, you're awesome, you're great. You know, but it was still a more of a distance thing, for me. But this word yada means relational, experiential, embodied knowledge. So it's experienced personally. It's recognized through encounter, to acknowledge by submission, to know through lived reality, to know in a way that changes you. It's basically saying that to know that I am God is not saying, "Oh, I'm God, I'm great, I am." It's this intimate knowing. It's this intimate knowing where it's relational, experiential, embodied, soul, mind, and spirit, and your knowledge, your thinking, your reality, the encounter. So it's like, whoa, I just read that. I was like, because I was like, it still wasn't hitting. I was like, I feel like, oh, and we did read these, God is our refuge and strength, and we already know that. But yeah, to your point, man, it's like that relationship is everything. And you know, and I think funny thing is like where I'm at now is kind of maybe in some ways where you were, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, right? Where you just started a business and, you know, and like I'm just starting out. I'm, you know, I'm burning through cash, right? I have clients and, you know, God's sustaining me that way. So and I'm maybe have to humble, you know, like, but I'm pressing to know God more. And I think that's been the biggest blessing, right? Is knowing him. And I think that to your point, it's the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I think for us is like whenever we try to get sidetracked, by even people, you know, relational, and those are good, right? We will definitely want to love one another and all that stuff, and people, healthy relationships. But I think that's our like you said, our metric. You know, if you call it a metric, is how close am I in with God, you know? So yeah. Anyways, I brought that up because I was like, oh man, that brought another level of understanding of this. Be still and know I'm God. Be still that this intimacy that we have. So
I think it's a timely word, man. And thanks for bringing it up. It's, I mean, I'm on that journey right now because even though things aren't necessarily like, you know, God hasn't taken away things, which is totally appropriate if need be. And he may, that's the thing. It's like, at least right now, like I'm on the same journey of trying to purify myself, you know, of all this like sin, like honestly, like the pride, security, you know.
mm,
Um, and so I just really I'm kind of on this journey with you, man. And it's hard in this world because we're so like we're such a faithless generation. We really are.
man.
Where's faith anymore? It's like, no, we have Chat GPT. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like, where
yeah.
is there's no room for
Wow. Yeah.
faith. It's all logic. Faith and miracles and the supernatural doesn't work in logic or math. In faith and miracles, it works 1 + 1 = 9. You know what I mean? Like this is how it works.
Mm,
God didn't, you know, have 5 loaves of fish of bread and 5 fish and make 10 by splitting them in half. You know, it's like
mm,
that's it, but there's just no room here anymore. This is the faithless generation. This is Jesus's hometown. You know, there's just no faith here. And um just trying to navigate through this place, man, I think is really tough. So, man, I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. And doesn't matter where my circumstances are. I am trying to get to this place as well because this is the only thing that really matters. This is
mm,
way more important than my family, than even my beloved son. Like way more important than business or my friends, my parents. I don't know. It's so much more important. This is what's important.
mhm.
So I'm with you, man. And so
Yeah,
thank you for
man.
bringing that.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, man. And I'm just glad, man, that God's timing and just having this, you know, we're doing it together, man. And yeah, so it's good, bro. It sounds like hopefully someone's helping somebody too.
Oh yeah, for some reason we're getting views,
Yeah.
and I
Well,
never.
it's also subscribers, I guess, right, to your channel.
It's
So
more than the subscribers. It's just like I know we're getting and we're getting views, and we're not. It's not really for that. It's just like
no, yeah, yeah,
I just want to put it out there, you know, like in case anyone's watching. Like
for
I just
sure.
want. I'm gonna put more of like my Bible studies and things like that out there because I just want to. Um, because why not? You know, I'm already doing it, and so I just want to share and just be out there and be open. And I was even thinking like, man, because I know if I invited people, a ton of people would join, but it's like it's also hard to really get deep with like, even another person.
Yeah. Especially with a lot of people that you don't know very well. Like it would be your friends, right? So it'd be like, and then I was already online too, so that's already a bit of a. I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be out there in the what do I share, what I don't share, But, but yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah,
and we don't have to record all of them, man. I mean, if there's times where we just want to like get really like, intimate and talk about, some serious struggles or of whatever, then we can certainly meet in person and do things like that, or just not record. And um, so, yeah, man.
yeah,
Anyway,
man,
good stuff.
yeah, brother. All right, brother.
All right, man. Good luck
Till
with
next time,
your
man.
all your business stuff.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Okay, see ya.
Later. Bye.